Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 2 of my 2017 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be making a card using this Happy Holidays stamp set from My Favorite Things, as well as the Oh What Fun 6x6 pad by My Mind's Eye. So I pulled up a picture on my phone of my dad and stepmom's dog Angel. She's a Westie and she's such a cutie, and I thought I would use that as a reference photo for my coloring today. So I'm going to start out with some W's, some warm grays, and I'll be using the W00, W1, and W3. I'm going to start with that W3 and begin to lay in my shadows and just kind of draw those out for myself so that I get a better idea of where I'm heading with my coloring. So I'm just laying in any shadows that are kind of on the underside of her body, any place where one body part overlaps another, like her little legs and her paws. And I'm also going to shade down her back to just make it look, further in the distance there. And then I'm blending out with the W1. I'm just working on her body at first since she's such a large image. I want to make sure that I keep my paper nice and saturated so that the colors can blend. So I'm just going to work one section at a time. Once I've blended everything out with the W00, I'll move on to her head. And again, I'm just going to place my shadows on the perimeter of her face, kind of making it seem more rounded in appearance, a little more three-dimensional. And then I'll blend out with that W1, just as I did on her body, just drawing that color towards the center. And then I'm going to finish off with the W00. I'm not going to cover her whole face with that. I am going to leave some portion of it white. I do want her to look like a white dog and not a gray one. I just want her to have dimension. And she will look a little more white as the ink dries back into the paper. For her ear, I'm just going to put a little triangle in the center to make it look nice and soft and floppy. And then I will take the W7 and the W9 to color in her nose and paw. Starting with the W9, I just put another little triangle in the center of her nose and then colored in the bottom edge of her paw and each of her little toes there. And then I'll just fill everything in with the W7. For the white of her Santa hat, I'm going to switch to cool grays so that it doesn't look like an extension of her fur. And I'm starting out with the C3, just doing a little shading from either side and on the bottom edge of the little ball. And then I'll blend that out with the C1 and finish with the C0, again leaving part of it just white. I'm not going to cover the entire surface. For her scarf and the rest of her hat, I'm going to use my favorite red combo, which is R29, R39, and R59. And I just started with the R59, putting a little bit of shadow on either side of her throat and where her foot is overlapping the front of the scarf there. And then just a little bit of shadow on the top edge of the hat. Then I'm going to bring that color in with the R39, just drawing that out a bit. And I will finish off with the R29 and just fill everything in. This makes a really nice bright red, really perfect for Christmas combination. And if you'll notice as I'm coloring, I'm really just trying to use the very tip of my marker. Reds are notorious for bleeding if you oversaturate the paper, so I try to use the color just sparingly and not put down too much. While I've got those reds out, I'm going to finish up any other items that I might want to be red. So I'm doing one of the bows on the gifts, and I'll also be coloring in a couple of the light bulbs that are going to decorate our tree. For my tree, I'm using G00, G03, and G05. And since it is large, I'm going to start out by just adding a whole coat of G03 to the entire tree, just to kind of get it saturated and get the paper wet and ready for blending. Then I'm going to come in with my G03 and I'm going to turn my paper to the side so I can get better control of what I'm doing here. And I'm going to begin to shade down the left-hand side and also do a little flick of color almost all the way across wherever the branches extend outward. And that's just going to create a little bit more depth and a little bit more separation of the branches. Once I have those mapped out, I'm going to go in with my darkest shade, the G05, and just go right over top of that, just kind of accentuating the deepness of the shadows there. I'm going to go all the way across the bottom, almost to the end for the last one. As I went down the tree, I kind of went a little bit farther across with those flicks. Then I'm going back with the G03 and just blending everything across, making sure that there is a nice transition there and that the colors don't have any harsh lines between. And then I'm going to go back over everything with a good coat of the G00 and just make sure everything is nice and smooth. For the base of the tree, I'm doing pretty much the same thing. I'm just going to shade in from the left-hand side and right up under that tree using the E40, E43, and E44. For the rest of the bulbs, I'm going to use YR00, YR01, and R02, and that's going to give me kind of a peachy tone. And I'm just going to color darkest to lightest on those. I'm also going to use those 3 shades to color in the gift. And because I wanted them to have a little bit more of a salmon pink color, I decided to go right over top of that with the R20. I didn't have the right colors in the pinks, so I just got around that by overlapping the colors. I'm also going to color in the little ornament in the same combination. So I'm starting with that R02 and blending out, just leaving kind of a little white highlight on the left-hand side. And then I'm going to just go right over all of that again with the R20, just as I did before. And I decided to color in the last bulb pink as well, since we already have so much red on the dog's hat and scarf. For the star on top of the tree, I'm using E000 and E00, and I'm just doing little flicks on the edges towards the center to kind of give it a little bit more dimension. It wasn't standing out quite enough for me, so I also added the E21. And for the last present, I decided to go back to my favorite red combo, the R29, R39, and R59. And I gave it a silver ribbon with the C0, C1, and C3. For some accents on the 2 gifts, I'm taking a white jelly roll pen and putting some polka dots on the red gift and some swirls and dots on the peachy pink one. And now I'll just die cut everything out with the matching dies. I've die cut a focal panel using the MFT Wonky Stitched Rectangle dies, and I'm going to color it in with some Distress inks. I taped off the bottom portion with some post-it tape, and now I'm going to take some antique linen and go ahead and sponge that onto the top portion. I just wanted to create a subtle glow, so once I'm happy with that, I can pull off my post-it tape and reposition that. I'm going to leave a white gap so that it looks like there's going to be a baseboard behind there because we're trying to create a wall and floor. For the floor, I'm going to take frayed burlap and again just sponge that going off of the post-it tape onto the bottom part of the paper. And I am using Bristol Smooth Surface because it's really easy to blend and get a subtle look on this vellum coated paper. And then when we pull that off, you can see exactly what I meant. There is a wall, a baseboard, and a floor. Using my Mini Misty, I'm going to go ahead and add my sentiment now. I'm going to ink that up in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink and stamp out the Happy Holidays. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that out twice so I have a really good impression. And while I have my Mini Misty out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside of my card. I'm going to use some Lawn Fawn Peachy Keen ink, and my card base is Pink Lemonade from MFT. I'm stamping out the little dog that's tangled in the string of lights and the sentiment that says, "May your days be furry and bright." Going back to my focal panel, I'm going to begin to set my scene using a combination of Tombow Mono liquid glue and some Scotch 3M foam tape. So I'm adhering the tree straight down to the card, but I've got some foam tape on the back of my dog. So I just was using him as a placeholder to figure out where I wanted my tree to go. I'm going to add the red gift kind of tucked behind the tree a little bit. And then I'll pop the peachy pink one over top with some foam tape. I'm going to add 5 little dabs of glue directly to my tree, and then I can just set my little light bulbs into place right over top. I think that's the easiest way to do these little tiny detail images. And then I'll pop my little dog over on the left, just a little bit overlapping the tree. And to finish off the scene, I'll add one last dab of glue right next to the dog and tuck in the ornament behind him. I've cut down my pattern papers and I'm going to layer them over top of my card base, which is folded to a standard size 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 landscape style card. So first I'm just adhering this kind of star and dot print right over top of the whole front of the card. And then I've got this green and white stripe that I'm going to layer towards the bottom. And then I've got this little rectangle of a pink background with a white snowflake over top. And I'm just going to give that a flag end by cutting up the center and then cutting the ends to meet it. And then I'll just glue that down right over top of our green stripe so that the tails almost touch the bottom edge of the card. Then I'll take my focal panel and just peel off the backer sheets of the foam tape that I added, and I can pop that over top of my card, and I'll just use the stripes on that green and white pattern paper to make sure that it's lined up nice and straight. As a finishing touch, I'm going to take my Spectrum Noir clear glitter brush pen and add a bit of shimmer to the ornament and all the light bulbs on the Christmas tree and the star, and also to the dog's hat, just the white portion of his hat, and also the bows on my gifts. I find it so hard to make a Christmas card without using glitter. I think it's the perfect time of year for it. And that is going to complete our card for today. I'm going to lift it up to the light so you can see all that pretty sparkle. And I'm also going to give you another little peek at the inside. I think it turned out super cute, and my dad and stepmom are really going to like their little version of Angel on their Christmas card. Thank you so much again for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did and you want to show your support, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Here's an extra couple videos from the previous 2 years of Holiday Card Series. It'll hopefully tide you over until the next one. I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye-bye.